Welcome, everyone, to Pick Central. We are live on the Barstool Sportsbook YouTube channel. I'm your host once again today, Ben Mintz. Brandon Walker out in Mississippi had a death in his family. He will be back on Monday. Hope Brandon's enjoying his time back south despite the bad news in his family. I know he always loves getting back south. Rico Bosco, Marty Mush on the road for the Stool Bench Mob. Been kind of enjoying following their journeys. They were in Fayetteville, Arkansas with Arkansas and Coach Eric Musselman and the team. And then they apparently stopped by Memphis to hit the Bass Pro Shops that's in the old pyramid yesterday. Saw a bunch of picks, and they're headed toward Tuscaloosa to hang out with Alabama head coach Nate Oates and the guys. And so that leaves myself and co-host today, Big Ev. What's up, Ev?
I feel good. I want to say listen, everyone knows Marty's my guy. I love Marty, one of my best friends in the office. We need to and Zah's smiling already. I think he knows what I'm about to say. We let Marty get away with being this great athlete at Barstool. Listen, compared to guys like me and Ben Mintz, he probably is a great athlete. He is a great athlete. But when you put him around good athletes, for example, like, I don't know, the Arkansas basketball team, he didn't look like a very good athlete.
Well, the bar's not.
I was just funny watching him run around because whenever he runs around here. My guy's dragging his feet around.
Yeah, well, the bar's been set pretty low up here in the office.
I love breaking his balls. It's just funny that he's like best guy in the office, and I'm like, it's so funny just to see him how good of an athlete because he is a good athlete compared to just the average Joe Schmo, like a bunch of us walk around. He is a good athlete, but it's just funny to see the difference in like a good athlete of like a guy who played college baseball just getting off the couch at 26, 27 versus these just prime elite fucking 21, 20 D1 college basketball players contending for national titles, potential draft picks on this team. My guy looks good in the uniform. I'm sure they're producing some great content out there. Rico hitting a three. I seen Jake Marsh doing some work on the ping pong tables today.
I believe that.
Against Nate Oates and some of the guys at Alabama. Love to see that. He's best in the office.
Yeah.
Best in the office.
I enjoy seeing.
Best one here.
I enjoy seeing the emphasis. We've kind of discussed this a lot during college basketball season, but, you look historically, SEC basketball, there wasn't really the most there. Kentucky's been dominant. Florida's had a bunch of good teams, but the depth of the conference has been bad.
Big time.
There's been a huge fall behind those two. And now all of a sudden you see, what Coach Musselman's building at Arkansas and Nate Oates at Alabama, and Will Wade's doing well at LSU, Rick Barnes at Tennessee, and a whole bunch more. And, I love seeing the conference focus more on basketball and getting better.
For sure. No, I mean, you got to invest in it. I think that's what they talked about it with Musselman, the reason that he honestly wanted to stay at Nevada. And all he wanted them to do was invest just a little bit of money in the program. And they just wouldn't do it. And then that was it. He just took the big contract, went to a place that was willing to invest in the program they have, and it's paying dividends.
Yeah, I think Arkansas.
You see it. I mean, you think about so much of these, because you got to think about it from the mindset of recruiting a 17, 18-year-old. Imagine him, obviously Nevada and Arkansas, different places. I get Nevada's not going to have the same money to spend that Arkansas does. Totally get that. It's SEC, Mountain West, different worlds. But still, when you walk in as a recruit and you see this amazing facility, it is a big deal. Because I even think about when I transferred into Ohio State, I was visiting a few different colleges, deciding where I wanted to go. I remember going to Ohio State, obviously not an athlete, but just as a student, and just being blown away by all the facilities, gyms, fields, like just classrooms, and just all these buildings, just all these like amazing things around the campus. And I remember just being sold right away. And I feel like that point definitely stands when it comes to students or athletes when they're just attending these visits and seeing how crazy these facilities are.
Yeah, well, look at Arkansas too. They got all the money.
Yeah,
I mean, you got Walmart and Kroenke and Tyson Chicken and Jerry Jones.
Yep,
and it's actually weird when you look at like Fayetteville, Arkansas, but that's like one of the strongest economies in the whole South. I mean, there's so much money running through there. And so, when I was a kid, Nolan Richardson, the 40 Minutes of Hell won the national title. That was before you were even born. But I remember all that. And I think you can win there. And Musselman, making the Elite
He's proven it for sure.
Yeah, he's
sure.
He's getting there. Well,
he's awesome, man. He just has I feel like he's just one of those guys that, he's got Mitzi, you got a little bit of Musselman in you, or vice versa. He's got a little bit of that wake up and just grab, like, you know what? Today's going to be a good day. He's a very like positive guy. Just go with the flow. Obviously, he takes his job seriously, but he doesn't take himself too seriously. Just seems like just a great guy. He's a good dude.
Well, I'm looking forward to just following the rise of the depth in the SEC basketball. Speaking of, we got a bunch of stuff to get into today. All-Star game last night. AL wins their 8th in a row. I actually hit a bet on the AL by a run and a half, which felt good. People were making fun of me on Twitter when I put the check mark up. They were like, "We hadn't seen one of those in a while," which I thought was pretty. It was pretty funny. But AL 5-2. Ev, why? I don't understand. How are they winning? How do they always win? I don't.
Listen. The All-Star game's a coin, especially from a gambling perspective. All-Star game's a coin flip.
Oh, for sure.
It's not like I'm out here doing research. I was on the AL, and I was on the AL because I'm a Yankees fan. So I just take the AL blindly every year. It's worked out pretty well for me pretty much my entire gambling career. So, I mean, it's a coin flip. But, I mean, I don't know what it is. They just win, man. They just win.
Yeah, they do. Well, at least this doesn't decide home field in the World Series anymore.
No, and it shouldn't. That was ridiculous.
Vlad with the 468-foot bomb, MVP.
That was a tank. You know, we got this up on the thing. I go back and forth with these pictures because it's obviously awesome to see. Like, obviously, his dad was a great player. It's fun to see that picture, but at the same time, people are so enamored. We're like, this great baseball player, he was once a child, now he's an adult. Wild world. He grew up.
People grow up.
He grew up. He was once 8 years old, now he's in his 20s.
He's hitting bombs, man. It's cool.
That was a tank. And it was awesome. They had Tatis live. Like, they were talking to him on the broadcast. He was mic'd up at shortstop, and they were talking to him as he hits the home run. I don't know if you were watching. And you just hear Tatis, he just throws his arms up. He's like, oh, shit.
I didn't see that. I just saw the highlight.
You didn't say shit. He just like, oh, like he just threw his hand up like just obviously a no-doubter off the bat. I love when big moments like that happen when they have the guys live like that. It's cool to see their just initial like bang, bang reaction.
Yeah. Well, AL gets it done 5-2. Were you surprised it was that low scoring in Coors? I mean, All-Star game usually has good pitching, though. And everybody's coming in 1 or 2 innings. A lot of guys are getting 1 at bat, 2 at bats, so it's hard to get in rhythm.
Yeah, I always I didn't touch it. If I'd taken it, it definitely would have been the under probably, but I just didn't. In an All-Star game like this, I just didn't feel comfortable taking it, obviously at Coors Field and everything. But I agree. I mean, it's funny because I thought it was interesting the total was so high. I get that it's at Coors Field and that's why it's 11. But I just feel like it's one of those, like you said, the All-Star game, it's one of those games where it's elite pitching. We talk about it all the time. Elite pitching usually beats elite hitting. That's just kind of how the world works. So I definitely was surprised to see it that high. So I didn't touch it, but probably would have been the under. So anyone who took the under, God bless you. Congrats.
Heading in the second half, starting on Thursday. Saw the Yankees got the Red Sox to start it.
Yep.
I just see, like I said, we hit it hard the last couple of days, but man, I mean, there's still a lot of talent on this team.
There is.
I'm just everybody in the office. The Yankees fans are so deflated.
Well, see, this is, and I keep harping on it because it's just the truth. Because I said it yesterday. It's not about that this team doesn't have talent. Realistically, especially if like Kluber comes back and he's better and some things like so, if Chapman can kind of figure it out. We'll be fine in terms of we definitely have what it takes to make a run in the second half. But this team, like guys like me, Hubs, Tommy, Marty, like we've just seen it over and over and over again these last few years with the same regime. The team just is not built to win in the postseason. And when you're a Yankees fan, you realize it's World Series or bust, especially when you have this kind of talent. It's just the truth. Well, that's just what it is.
Well, baseball starts back on Thursday. Thought the All-Star game, the crowd, though, I thought it was – granted, Denver hadn't had much to cheer about with the Rockies for more than a minute.
They win a lot at home, at least, so they've had some home games to cheer about.
Yeah, they always.
But they are putrid on the road. Absolutely putrid.
Yeah, they're bad. But thought overall seemed like a successful event.
Yeah, I thought so. No, I thought it was a solid game. It wasn't I
wasn't too entertained by it.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't like some like crazy like it was one of those things where AL kind of jumped on a little bit. It got a little interesting. I think the NL loaded the bases. I believe it was in like the 8th inning, maybe 7th or 8th inning, but they got out of the jam. It never really was. And besides the Vlad home run, that was awesome. That was just an absolute bomb. Like I said, it was on the broadcast. Tatis was on the broadcast, so that was cool, but it was kind of a whatever event. It was okay. It was okay. I'd say okay.
I had it on in the background and watched some of it because I've definitely, and I kind of talked about this yesterday on the show for a little bit, but like I've been hammering all year. I've been doing good on the exercise stuff. And this last month on the road with Omaha and us being out of the office, I slacked. And I could just feel 8 or 10 pounds on me. That
oh, brother, you're preaching the choir.
Dude, it happened so fast that I could like feel it a little in my chin. So the hardest one back on the running and stuff is the first one when you're just like sluggish and in a rut. I dragged myself in there and it wasn't fast or pretty, but I ran like 3.6 miles in like 40-something minutes.
There we go.
Yeah, but I feel
just chewing ground, man. That's all.
I feel so much better today, and I'm about to just turn this back up because I lost a bunch of weight. You know how it is too.
Because I've lost a bunch. I put it all back on. I mean, I know how the game goes. I've been trying to get back into it a little bit recently. It's tough.
Yeah, it is, and so I'm like just the warning signs are going off. Like I don't want to lose all this progress. So I'm about to just crank it up, and I feel a lot better today after that. But I'm already ready to get back in there today. So a bunch of other stuff to get to. NBA Finals start Game 4. Hadn't played a few days off. Bucks hammered the Suns in Game 3. All 3 games have actually been blowouts by the home teams. Tonight, boy, this is a penultimate one though. It kind of felt like Milwaukee was going to win Game 3. Mm-hmm. You know how good
backs
they are.
Against the wall.
Yeah, but this is the one though. The Suns are 3-0 in the playoffs in Game 4s. The line's the exact same. Bucks are 4.5-point favorite. You look back at Game 3. Ayton's become awesome down low, but him being in foul trouble, the Bucks got to keep attacking him because if you get him in foul trouble, they don't have anything down low to mess with them, and they'll get dominated rebounding. I expect him to do better today. The Suns really called off the Dogs a little bit in the fourth, and just Booker didn't even play.
Yeah, they were. I mean, they went on that big run. The Bucks went on that big run the end of the third quarter, and that was one of those games that, even though the Bucks were kind of always up, like it felt like that, like 6-10, kind of they were kind of in control, and then they went on that. I believe it was like a 14 or 16-0 run to end the third quarter, and they ended up going into the fourth quarter. I think up 21 or 22, maybe something like that, and then I think once they went on that big run the end of the third quarter, I think they kind of were like, these guys have played a ton of minutes this postseason. We're on our 4th series. Let's probably not going to win this one. We're up 2-0. Let's let the guys get some rest, regroup, figure some shit out, get back to Game 4. Monty Williams is a great coach. My perspective in this game is, at least from a betting standpoint, is I guess I'll say right now, I'm taking the Bucks tonight. I'm going to be on the Bucks laying 4.5. I just think at home, I think with what you said with Ayton, I think they're definitely going to go back to the well in that strategy. Especially when it goes to that, you see the way they can just eat them up with size, eat them up with rebounding without Ayton. And Ayton, obviously, like you said, just pretty much all they have with big men right now. So, I mean, I'm taking the Bucks. But if I were to bet on the Suns, I think in this game, I think you take Suns money line. That's just my opinion. I think it's one of those games I think it's a dogfight, but I think most times if the team win, like if the Bucks win the game, they're probably going to cover. I think if you're going to take the Suns, you take the money line. That's just me personally. I'm on the Bucks, so whatever. But
I feel like we're finally getting a close game tonight.
You think so?
Yeah, I do. I just feel like this is a game where it was set up. Suns won the first 2 at home. Bucks had their huge effort in Game 3. I mean, I think they both just know the urgency of tonight. You look at it from the Phoenix side. If you can just squeak this thing out somehow, you're up 3-1 going back to Phoenix with a chance to end this. I mean, this is a huge opportunity for them. I also think, like I said, Ayton in foul trouble. Booker rested the last one. I mean, they were down 15. They cut it all the way to 4, and then Milwaukee went on that run late third. I expect a big effort from Phoenix. And it's weird to me when you look at the Suns team, too, because you're talking about a team that hadn't been in the playoffs since 2010, but they feel, because of Paul, they feel like a veteran team in a way. And I know the rest of the team's younger, but it feels like they've got that kind of veteran thing going just because of Chris Paul. And I don't know. I'm on the other side tonight. I like the Suns. It's up to 5 now, and I think the Suns find a way here somehow. I mean, I don't know. I don't think it'll be pretty. I think they squeak this thing out by 3 or 4. I really do.
No, I think what I think the veteran thing is with the Suns. Obviously, you said Chris Paul, but I think it's because just the way the team is built. Like they're just built like they're just a team of guys who know their role. And I think like that type of mindset and that type of team usually comes with veterans, where this team is a little different because a lot of these role players are, well, Devin Booker's not a role player. He's your star, but that's his role. Ayton, who's like your third guy, who's a blossoming young star.
And Ayton's really, the Paul thing has done so much for Ayton this year. I mean, it kind of like just because he was, it was a little immature, and sometimes you didn't know whatever you're going to get. And he's just embraced his role. Like, he's not a huge scorer. He cleans up. but he blocks shots. He's the rim protector. He's a great rebounder. He's active on the defensive end. Paul gets him tons of easy dunks and stuff.
Yep.
And he's just really found his role here.
And like Michael Bridges, another young guy who's came into his role phenomenally. Jay Crowder, who's like an ultimate team role guy, 3-and-D guy.
He's a playoff glue type guy.
Exactly. Like he's a just hard-nosed, tough defender. Can shoot the three a little bit. Like they just have a lot of guys like that. Like Cam Johnson's been awesome off the bench, making threes. Playing. I mean, that dunk he had was fucking crazy. Yeah. In Game 3, I mean, Cam
Johnson.
Yeah, like
he's really stepped up a lot.
That's what I'm saying.
I didn't know he's been huge in these playoffs.
He's been big making threes. Like it's weird because pretty much every single guy we mentioned besides Chris Paul are all young guys. But I think Chris Paul, in a way, I don't know if I've ever seen a guy come into a young team and just kind of rally the troops like he has. I think it was Smitty who said it yesterday. Like, it literally feels like this team was built for them to just sign Chris Paul and make a run.
Yeah, well,
they just failed. They just are put together
because it was like they built all that momentum in the bubble last year when they went 8-0, and then the Chris Paul thing. I mean, everybody. And here's the
oh my God.
Oh,
I mean, on PJ Tucker too.
Well,
it's a tough guy, man. That's what, even though obviously he didn't jump for it, tried to go for the block. But I mean, Cam Johnson's a monster, man. They got some ballers on that team. I mean, they're built to win for a while too.
No, they are. And, the Paul thing is fascinating to touch on for a sec because, it just didn't work for him in Houston because Harden had to have the ball, and and everybody gave Paul all this crap for years because the Clippers were so hyped up, but they couldn't beat Golden State, and neither could anybody else.
I was one of them. I definitely was one of them.
Yeah, and they couldn't beat Golden State. Then he goes to Houston. And he kind of ends up the number 2, but it just didn't really work with him and Harden because they both needed the ball, and Paul's such a good distributor. And then they get to Game 7 in 2017, I believe.
Well, it was the one when Chris Paul got hurt.
And then he had a hamstring injury.
He got hurt in Game 6, I believe,
He finally makes the conference finals. They push it to Game 7. He gets hurt, and then that was when Trevor Ariza went
And they were up 3-2, I believe, correct? I think they were.
Okay, I remember.
I could have swore they were up 3-2 the one series. The one that he got, and then they got. I thought they were up 3-2, and then Chris Paul got hurt in Game 6. I thought I could be off.
Well, I remember also the Clippers one where they were up 3-2 on the Rockets trying to close it out, and they were up 25 in the third in Game 6.
I remember the collapse.
Completely melted down.
Yep.
When Josh Smith went off. I remember that really well, and that was the end of the Clippers days. So the Rockets thing didn't work out. Well, what's interesting about this Chris Paul thing, and why I'm bringing this up, is he had a 5-year, $210 million deal.
Yep.
He had the number 1 worst contract in NBA, people thought. Nobody wanted it. I mean, the Rockets just gave him to Oklahoma City to take his contract, and people thought the Thunder were going to win 25 games even with Chris Paul. That's how bad they're rebuilding. He got him all the way to the 6th seed.
Listen. I've talked about it. My old beef with Chris Paul over kind of him with Melo, and people would always kind of give Melo shit and not give him shit. And then I think people started to give him shit, and now he's kind of twisted that around a little bit. But I mean, now I'll be the first to admit, like I said, there was rumor. I think it was the Thunder, or maybe right after he was on the Thunder that, or not after. I think it was the Thunder that they had talked about him going to the Knicks, that the Knicks were a potential trade suitor. And I remember as a Knicks fan, I was like, no. I'm eating my words now because I don't think the Knicks would have done what the Suns have done with him at this team, but they would have been a much better team with Chris Paul. That's for damn sure.
Well, so they get him, and then it just kind of was they already had all the momentum from the bubble. They add Paul, and basically he replaces Rubio basically.
Yep.
And it just took off and worked this year. And, another thing with Paul, too, is we've talked so much about the NBA playoffs. It's just been a war of attrition this year. I mean, everybody got hurt. Kawhi Leonard, AD banged up. I know Murray got hurt. It was around the All-Star break. But, I mean, look how bad the Nuggets missed him. I mean, it's been one thing after another. But, Paul had a shoulder injury and COVID during these playoffs. He's overcome both of those. And I don't know. I will say this. I mean, everybody makes fun of me for it, but I've been pulling hard for Phoenix. I lived with Playboy Marty, who's diehard. Monty Williams, Pelicans fired Monty in 2015 after they got swept by Golden State, who's one of the best teams of all time. And look at the Pelicans coaching thing. It's been a complete zoo since then. All the guys they've gone through. That was a huge mistake. I'm happy to see him getting his due, too. So
I think it's a weird thing. I think in not even just like basketball, I've noticed it more in football, too. I think in like all sports, teams have been so quick to fire guys. And I think teams have kind of held, like, for example, like you were just saying, like them getting, like that team getting swept by Golden State. Like, they should have got swept by Golden State.
They were up by 20-something.
They don't have anywhere near the talent.
25 late third in Game 3 when they were down 2-0 at home. And then the thing is, in Golden State, look, Golden State erases a lot of 25-point deficits because they just freaking nuked the three-point line.
That's what I'm saying. Like that team, like you had Anthony Davis and not a ton else. Like that team should have got swept. Like that Golden State team is fucking fantastic.
Yeah, I don't know. Just looking back on it,
like you said, one of the best teams literally of all time.
Well, I'm happy for Monty getting his due and Phoenix, and I hope they win this thing. As far as tonight goes, I just think it's going to be a hell of a game, and I'm going to take Phoenix, but if Milwaukee wins, though, I wouldn't mind seeing this thing go 7.
Because my thing is, me having Milwaukee tonight, I still think the Suns win the series. I just think the Bucks scrap one out tonight. I just think they figured something out with finally getting at Ayton, trying to get him in foul trouble, just knowing the lack of depth they have in the middle right now. It's what they have to do. That's their truest, best path to victory. Is trying to just get him in foul trouble and then just use their size to their advantage. That's the only way. They're not going to outshoot him. That's how they have to win. They got to win with size.
This is on a different note. Do you like the NBA Finals being in July? I mean, at least it gives us something right now. This is usually the deadest time of year completely in sports. I'm glad we got something to watch.
So I was going to say this today. Today, usually the day after the MLB All-Star game, is usually the sports Core 4 solar eclipse. There's usually no games on. It's usually the one day of the year that there is none of the major 4 sports on. But with the finals being back, we got an NBA Finals game.
Yeah.
So it's huge. Like I'll take it. Like this is usually literally as a sports junkie like I am. Today's usually one of my least favorite days of the year. You go home, I don't know what the fuck to do with myself. There's no sports on, nothing to gamble on, nothing to watch, and I'm just watching a little Netflix, some YouTube, whatever. But we got a finals game at 9
See, what's
p.m.
interesting is, for me, this was actually my favorite, and I'm going to bring this up because this is 10 years ago this week. Poker was brilliant on this. They always throw the World Series of Poker Maine now.
Smart. Okay.
No, they do it right now.
Honestly, that's probably what I end up with putting on my TV.
And that's the thing with poker. They're smart to do it because here's the thing. Like, I mean, obviously, I'm an ex-pro poker player. I follow it, whatever. But to the casual person like you have, you'll watch World Series Maine coverage and probably not give a shit about anything else, right?
Yep, agreed.
But the Maine does have that branding.
It does.
The World Series Maine has that, like, Masters, Super Bowl. The rest of the year, you probably couldn't name 3 other poker tournaments. But the World Series Maine is the big one and has that prestige. So they always would put it right around July 4th when the sports world was dead, right after NBA Finals and Stanley Cup Finals and, U.S. Open and, and this – I bring this up because I'm going to have a big blog out on this that I'm working on. It's going to be a longer one, so it might be this weekend. But 10 years ago this week was literally my favorite week of my entire life. And I've been very blessed. I've lived a crazy life with a lot of experiences. And so 10 years ago was the week I got 75th in the World Series Maine.
Okay.
I got 75th out of 7,000 people for $90,000 was my poker piece.
That's awesome.
But the first day of the Maine, like I actually reposted it on my Twitter, I was in second place out of like 3,000 people after day 1. Like I just went on this psycho here.
Wow.
And it was like funny because at that time people knew I was like an online pro, but like, I'm going to always tell you how it is. Yeah, like I was a pretty good online pro. I was not a huge name. And so it was hilarious. All these articles were like, who the hell is the destroyer that's leading the World Series Maine? Because that was my online poker day.
That must have been awesome. So,
dude.
Well, let me ask. Well,
I'll definitely get into this.
I got a couple of questions to ask.
Yeah, I'll get into this week on here.
So the one thing I guess I'll start with that tournament. So after day 1, when you're in second place.
Oh yeah, there's 2002
on the leaderboard. Did it just say like number 2, like Benjamin Mintz?
Yeah, it says your chip count. So it was like an article. I had 100. Okay. You started with 30,000 chips, and I had like 177K at the end of day.
You started with how many? You said.
You started with 30,000,
and you had 170.
177K.
Wow.
At the end of day. Oh yeah, dinner break. I had like 130.
Holy
Nobody
shit.
else in the field had 100. I remember.
So you were in first at one point.
Oh yeah, I remember the funny part was I was in this big hand where I somehow had like King 4 suited or just some complete bullshit, and I knew somebody had aces just by how they were playing it. and I flopped 2 pair and turned a full house. Board's like king 4, 8, 4. And I'm like, I knew the guy had a monster.
There
and so, yeah, there's the article. Yep.
Wow.
Second place, World Series Maine.
Maury Little and Ben Mintz.
Yep, Ben Mintz. Yeah. And,
incredible.
yeah, unreal, dude. Like, looking back.
You're just behind him, too.
Yeah, living this.
Crazy.
Yeah, just, but I remember this dude, I knew he had a monster hand. And so I had a full house, and I just bet like astronomical on the river because I was like, this dude has like 2 aces or ace king. He can't fold. And so I overbet this hand so bad, and that got me a ton of chips early. But it was surreal because that week, and this is why it's worth doing a blog. I mean, it was just like I had this huge run. I played the main event in 2010, bricked it. I was so nervous the first time I played the main. Like, it was weird. Like, I was edgy. I was not comfortable at the table. You know, I'd been a poker fanboy and like built up to playing the main. I remember like that first year, 2010, I thought I was like the 7th or 8th best player at the table. But somehow when I sat down in 2011, it's like I'd already been there and done it, and the nerves were gone. And, you know, I know it was big, but it was like another tournament. And I went on that huge heater day one. We had so they have 4 day ones. I always play the last one because I think that's the most people, and it's like the softest one usually. Well, then it's so big. You have 4 day ones, and then they have 2 day twos. The first 2, so I was on the second day 2. So on the off day, you know, everybody knows I'm like a psychotic widespread Panic fan. Me and my buddy, and I didn't booze or anything, we went to Hollywood on my off day and saw Panic at the Will Turn in L.A. and like snuck out of there because I knew how much heat I'd catch from people that had investors. So we like snuck to the show, came back right after. Then day 2 did pretty good, you know, and then I went to day 3 and was still like top 30, top 40. And then day 3, I had the hand of my entire career where world famous pro Patrick Antonius got moved to my table, and we were battling a bunch, and we had this crazy hand where he like raised, and I have king queen and re-raise, and then he bombs it like super huge on me. Like it's called a 3, but he raised, I re-raised. I made it like 19K on my re-raise. He makes it like 63K. And I had like 220 and he had 180. And I was about to fold. Like, what the hell am I doing? Messing with one of the literally best players in the world with king, queen. Like, who am I? And then I had this thing hit me in the pit of my stomach as I was about to fold. I was like, you know what? F this guy. I don't care if this dude's Patrick Antonius or not. He just thinks I don't have the heart to go with this hand if I don't have kings or aces in the main. And I read that, and I went all in for 220K, and he folded, and I showed the king high to the table, and everybody just lost their minds, dude. They're like, there's no way this dude just pulled this on Antonius. And everybody was terrified of me the rest of the day, and I just ran this table. And then what was funny was it was like the WSP squared, World Series of Poker and Panic. So Panic ends up in Vegas 2 nights during it. So I end up going to 3 shows during this main. I bagged chips day 3 and 4 at like 11 p.m. and just like put my chips in a bag, sprinted to the cab line, took a cab to the Hard Rock, and like ended up just raging balls in the 3rd row of the show back-to-back nights. I remember I took my buddy Corey Burbick, who's a big pro, Commander Cool. We threw down both nights, and it was my favorite week of my life. And I ended up busting. So day 6 was when I busted. I was 35th of 90, day 6. And, man, this is getting real. I'm on dinner break. I'm 35th place out of 90 in the World Series. Man, shit's like $8 million to first. You know, I'm just like, you know, and I was getting ESPN coverage, all that. And off the dinner break, I lost a huge hand with pocket aces that I thought I actually didn't even play bad. It was just unfortunate. And then I lost a huge coin flip with ace-queen suited against 10s for a bunch. Yeah, but I honestly wasn't even mad. I don't know. I probably should have been mad when I busted, but I was like, this was a run, though. Yeah, exactly. I got 75th for like 90K, and I had investors, so it's never what it seems. It's like, oh, yeah, you won 90K. Like, I think I won like 35. But it was funny. I had investors that had pieces of it, and so instead of me depositing the money, I literally just like went gangster style casino and just put the money in the back of my trunk and just drove. Like, I took an Adderall and drove 25 hours through the night back to New Orleans with all of it, you know, because I had to give out the cash to all that.
That's awesome.
But yeah, that was my favorite. Just anyway, I got sentimental just going off on that, but that was my favorite one.
No, that was awesome. What so let me ask this. This is such a basic question. I'm just not in the poker world. So you, like, saying you were a pro poker player, is there something you need to do like for that to like to get that title, I guess?
No, the pro poker player
is it kind of you just saying like, all right, like I'm quitting my job or I'm not doing anything else but playing poker?
But no, the pro poker player, you could be crappy. You could say you're a pro if you don't have a job and that's your income.
That's
so,
all.
I mean, you could make like no money and be like, dude. I mean, I know a million poker pros that don't have any money.
Fair enough.
But that's all it is. And what happened with that was I started doing really good when I was like 23 online and kind of was half-assed going to school, half-assed not. And
well, I mean, I'm sure I can't even. Obviously, I guess I'm closer to 23. I can't even imagine. I mean, even right now, but I can't even imagine when I was 23. That was my last year of college. I can't even imagine if I had just started making a shit ton of money going on my poker. I mean, I barely went to class when I wasn't making money doing poker. I can't even imagine if I had a pocket full of money.
Well,
I wouldn't be doing shit.
What happened was, like, I got real into it playing like $5 games in the frat house, and I played it like I got obsessed with it for a couple of years, just like really into it. But didn't have any money. And one night I was playing like a $22 tournament on Party Poker, and I probably had $200 or $300 to my name, just like a regular college kid. And there were 2,400 people in this tournament, and I'd never even final table the tournament before, and I just win this thing for $10,000 off $20. And I thought $10,000 was like $1 million, And I remember I called my mom the next day, and she was like a big attorney and sent me through private schools. And I was all proud, told her, and she was just like, "Oh no."
It's funny you say that because I actually had not with poker, but I didn't go deep into it as deep into it as you with just like with kind of following that path. But there was a point in time, I believe it was when I was like 21, and I had just transferred to Ohio State, and it was that year I'd gotten really into daily fantasy. I guess I won't say names of competitors, whatever, but I was really, really deep into daily fantasy basketball. Like I'm talking like spending my entire day just doing research and stuff. I'd be working for my dad back home, scheduling service appointments and whatever, doing just answering phones and doing some paperwork around the office, going to the shop, sweep up, whatever needed to be done. And when I had time at my desk, I would literally spend every other moment just doing research on daily fantasy basketball, blah, blah, blah. I loved it, kept doing it. So I went to college. It was literally like my first, it was November. It was literally the first day of NBA. I remember. And I got really into it. And it was some shit like that. But probably had like $100, $200 in my name. Put like $100 into a lineup that night that I felt really, really good about. Hit for like $5,000. I think it was this big tournament, came in like second place and literally jumped up like $2,000. I'll never forget it. Off a late BS Harrison Barnes assist.
Oh, wow.
That literally,
dude, that's what's funny with the daily fantasy, those like little endings.
Like it was literally the difference. It was the difference. It was like 1.5 points or something. It was literally the difference between like fourth and second. So I won like $5,000. And for like a split moment, I was like, can I just do this?
Yeah, of course.
Like, I was like,
you win $5,000. Of course.
I was like, I turned 100 into like $5,000 on the one tournament. And I was like, can I just do this? Like, I had some little hits before, but nothing like that. Especially at that time, I had no money. So it's the same thing as you, like $5,000. But I was like, holy shit! Like this is a shit ton of money. Especially at a time where I'm at college, and I was like, I came from a background where I'd done some things in my past, had in previous college experiences, had a lot of money from certain things. So
yeah, fair enough.
I was used to having money, and then I
less
knew,
is more.
I knew what it was like to not have money. So I went from like having a lot of money and being like 19, having all the money in the world. It felt like having no money, and then all of a sudden I had some money again, at least a little bit, and I was like, oh shit, maybe I can do this. Didn't exactly work out like that, but it's funny how you get that one little taste, and you're like, you know what? Like
especially when you're young.
Maybe I can beat this game.
And you're like early to mid 20s and feel invisible, but like. I went from 75th in the World Series main to making freaking salads and sweeping floors back in college. Like you go from like making $90K in the World Series main to making $8 an hour. You know, like it definitely will humble you.
I can imagine. No, that's crazy.
But it was like one of the best things that happened to me. It's too funny. All right, I got to make sure we went off a little bit there. Let's talk about when things go wrong. We've got the answer here with BetterHelp. Life is full of stressors. It doesn't matter who you are or what you have. Your life is probably stressful. You may not be feeling down and depressed or like you're at a total loss. But if your stress is high, your temper is shorter than usual, or even if you're starting to feel strain in any of your relationships, you could probably use the chance to unload to get your mind right. Unload the stress and get it out. Talk to someone who's completely unbiased about your life. Someone who isn't going to judge you or take sides on anything. When there are things you can't tell anyone or feel like you can't unload to family and friends, you need to let it go, and that's what therapy can be. BetterHelp is customized online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist. So you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. It's much more affordable than in-person therapy, and you can start communicating with your therapist in under 48 hours. Unload the stressors and get some unbiased feedback. You'd be pretty surprised at what you might gain for it. See if it's for you. This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp, and our listeners get 10% off their first month at BetterHelp.com/picks. That's BetterHelp.com/picks. And probably need some therapy after some of these bad gambling picks I've had the last month. So anyway, check out BetterHelp. A few other things. So today's Win Total Wednesday. Last thing on the poker, I'm getting a lot of stuff in the chat. Check out the Cracking Aces podcast. It's Nate, Smitty, me, Poker Pro Jake Tool on there. We got Owen doing social. We've done a few episodes the last few weeks. We're getting a good response. Buy our merch, whatever. I'm excited about the future of Barstool Poker. It's exciting to be a part of. All right, let's get back to sports. Win Total Wednesday. Obviously, our crew's not here as much right now, but people did send in some picks. I like the Win Total Wednesday thing. It gets me in the spirit. You know, big thing of like now that we're hitting mid-July, this is like dog days. The NBA Finals is helping, but I'm starting to put my head toward football now. I really am. Omaha kind of – usually summer's a little slower, but like Omaha just was so on fire content-wise. And then we had the week out of the office. I feel like we got through a lot of the dog days, but now we're sitting here in mid-July. You know, I'm starting to look ahead to it. And, man, I got to be honest, Deb, I'm fired up. Like, I came up here in the middle of last fall, and it was kind of a whirlwind, but this is my first big football season up here. And, you know, there's a lot of fun stuff coming down the line. I can't say just yet, but there's a lot of exciting stuff coming. You know, NFL, college. We're going to do the whole damn thing this fall, and I got to redeem my name in the college football.
I can't. I mean, college football, I mean, that's my bread and butter. That's what I pride myself on as my best gambling sport. I was positive units in it last year on our college football show. In my best bets of the week, I was 12-3. Definitely where I thrive. Super excited for football to be back. Football just is. There's nothing like football because there's no other sport that at least I can think of off the top of my head that, especially obviously with the major sports, there's no other sport that can replicate the meaning of a football game in terms of what it means to your season. Like every other sport has all these games. Football, 16, 12 regular season games in college. I mean, there's just nothing like it. I don't think there's anything in America that we rally around more than football, especially the South and college football, but just the whole country. It's just the best. It is the best. For me, I think August 1st is when I really start like Birdman hand rub, like licking my chops, like football is right around the corner. So we're getting pretty damn close. We're literally at basically the middle of July right now. We're a couple weeks out from August, about 6-7 weeks out from college football. Not too far, Mincy.
Yeah, I've got a couple people in the chat. We are going to touch. I've got some British Open picks. I'll give it a little bit. But the football season, yeah, we're not too far out. I like we're doing the Win Total Wednesday. Do you have a pick for today?
I do. So, as some of you know, I have two alma maters. By definition, I always use this kind of little fun fact that technically in alma mater, you don't have to graduate for it to be alma mater. So I went to school there. What am I two? It is Coastal Carolina. The total is 10 wins.
Wow, ha. But they got everybody. Don't they have most of the team back?
Give me the over, Mincy.
Wow.
Over 10.
I was surprised that Coach Jimmy Chadwell's still there.
That's a big part of why I like it. Another one is they are returning 19 starters, 9 on offense, 10 on defense. Pretty much the only guys they lost is Taron Jackson at the end, who got drafted by the Eagles, really good player. But literally the entire unit is back besides him, so I really feel really good about them. On offense, they lost not Grayson McCall. He's one of my favorite guys in all of college football who's back. They lost the running back, C.J. Marble, who's a really good player, but you know how the running back position is. I think they'll be just fine. This team, they're one of the best teams in college football last year. One of the kind of like the Cinderella stories turned villain when they had that big thing with BYU at the end. That big brawl happened and whatever, but they got all the guys.
That Liberty, and they lost that Liberty Coastal Carolina bowl game.
That was crazy.
That game
crazy
was on
game.
fire.
Crazy game. They got the blonde mullets by the beach. I went there. I got a little. I had a rough ending there, but there still is a little soft spot for it there. I had a great time there. A lot of fun. Great school. Over 10 wins. They're in a spot where They honestly are a very, very good chance to be favored in every single game. 12 games. I look at their schedule in the Sun Belt.
Sun Belt isn't a horrible league.
It's not, but
it's top heavy though. Like App State's
that's
good.
What I'm saying.
You got like the top of it's pretty good.
I don't know.
I think it's better than CUSA.
I don't know if Lafayette's going to be as good as they were.
No, they lost a ton. They will not be as good. I was shocked Billy Napier's still.
Yeah, I don't know if Louisiana, the Raging Cajuns. I don't know if they're going to be as good as they were last year.
They won't. I mean, they're a good program, and Napier's recruiting well, but they had a lot of experience.
So with 12 games, I think they have a decent shot to even run the table or even just lose one. So I mean, I got 1 to play with, 2 for a push. I like Coastal, man. Like, I really believe this team can replicate what they did last year. Like I said, they bring everybody back. Grayson McCall, man. I watched pretty much every Coastal game last year. This kid is so good. He was a freshman last year. What I love about Grayson McCall and just Coastal's offense in general, they're so versatile. Like, they can just do – like, they will run speed option. They'll run triple option. They will drop back and throw the ball. They'll run it up the middle, like just get under center. Like, they really will do so many different things in offense. And I just think he is the perfect quarterback to do what they do because he can do everything. He can legitimately – I'm telling you, this guy can legitimately run the triple option, speed option. He can throw the deep ball. He can throw the outside the post. He can throw the post. He can throw the flag. Like, he can throw that deep outside hash throw from the opposite side. Like, he really can do everything. I really think the kid – is going to get a legit shot, like be a real NFL quarterback in a couple of years, at least get a chance to be. Like, I think he's going to be a guy that's going to get drafted. I just really believe in him as a player. I believe in Shadwell as a coach. I believe in this team. Give me Coastal Carolina over 10 wins. And I think even the next couple of years, I really think Grayson McCall is going to be a dark horse Heisman candidate.
The only thing I've got on Coastal is, like, they were the big surprise and did not look like a fluke last year, but, like, now it's like establishing success when you're supposed to be good. I'm not saying they can't do it. I just don't know.
I just genuinely believe, I really believe this is it. I'm not going to sit here and say they're going to compete for a national title. Like, seriously. I believe this is a legitimate top 25 football team. I really believe that.
Well, my win total Wednesday, I gave it out last week on Twitter, but I'm shocked it's still at 4. Louisiana Tech, who I have a pretty big relationship with because we used to carry their games on my radio when I did radio in Shreveport. Theirs is only 4? They made bowl games 7 years in a row. They've won 6 of them. They weren't as good last year because the quarterback play fell off. They were rotating too with Aaron Allen, who was more of a runner and couldn't throw, and Luke Anthony couldn't stay healthy. Well, going into this year, the defense is always talented, especially the secondary, especially for CUSA. The questions were at quarterback. Well, Austin Kendall just transferred there. It was a backup to Mayfield and Murray at Oklahoma. He got beat out by Jarrett Dodge at West Virginia. Yep. But Tech, like, they've done great with these transfers in the past. Jeff Driscoll from Florida for a year, Cody Sokol from Iowa. They kind of were one of the schools that got the QB transfer thing going. And I know their defense is going to be good. Skip Holtz is a damn good coach. Joe Sloan's a really good OC and recruiter. And Conference USA sucks. The bottom, like, I went through their schedule. So they'll lose to NC State and Mississippi State. Fine. They got Southeast Louisiana non-conference. They play UTEP. They play Rice. And then they've got, like, toss-up Charlotte's pretty good. Southern Miss is okay. You know, they've got some that are a little tougher. But 4? 4 and 8's a push? I put 3 units on over 4 here. It's minus 152, so the juice is high, which I don't love. But I went ahead and put a decent chunk on this because I'm looking at it like this. It kind of sucks when you have to tie up money for a whole season on these futures. But I'm looking at it like this. I put a pretty big chunk on Tech. It'll end in December. I'm going to give that to myself as my Christmas bonus. That's my current logic.
There we go. So, yeah, I guess just for the record, for Coastal's line over 10 is like a pick'em line. It's a minus 110. But
that's a lot better than minus 150. But it's just 4? I mean, you're telling me they go 4 and 8? They've won at least 4 or more games. The last time they went 4 and 8 was like 2014 or 2013.
I like it. No,
yeah, they're like one of the best.
Especially with Kendall at the helm.
That was the big thing. The quarterback.
I feel good about that.
Oh yeah, and they've got athletes. Like they've got almost. They did have more G5 guys in the NFL than anybody. They got 20 or something like that. I don't know. I just think the consistency of the program, especially when you have Skip Holtz, like so many G5 programs, you'll see have these like good 2 or 3 year runs where they've got this young coach that's on the rise, or they got a really good quarterback. You don't see G5 programs be stable success, except for Boise's done it forever. But you usually see these teams have these like couple year windows. But Tech year in, year out does, as long as they got Holtz. So I think 4 is stealing money.
No, and the one thing I actually forgot to mention about Coastal, they also got two pretty big G5 transfers as well. A guy from Georgia Tech and a guy from Vanderbilt, I believe both on the defensive side. So, I mean,
that ain't going to hurt.
I think Coastal's going to be a serious team again. I don't think it's a lightning in a bottle situation. I think they're a for real team, at least for this little run, as long as Chadwell's there and Grayson McCall.
Fellas, the sport of business means demanding excellence from your craft and wardrobe. Your fits need to be versatile, blending timeless style and comfort so that you look as good as you feel. For that, there's Cuts Clothing. They've taken a classic men's fashion staple, the plain tee, and refined it, combining premium quality with a minimalist aesthetic. Cut shirts, polos, hoodies, and crew set sweatshirts are made for the man who works hard, plays hard, and never settles for less, all in the sport of business. Built for performance in the boardroom, the bar, or the gym, Cuts Clothing keeps you sharp wherever the game takes you. Take a plain tee, but make it Tony Stark. The bleeding edge of fabric technology meets the man confident enough to wear it. Cuts Clothing. It's not just a lifestyle. It's not just clothing. It's office leisure apparel for the sport of business. Get 15% off your first order by going to cutsclothing.com/picks. That's cutsclothing.com/picks for 15% off the only shirt worth wearing. And they sent us up some clothing, and I like Cuts. It was fitting good. I mean, to be honest, as I shared a little bit of the show, I liked it more about a month and a half ago. So
you'll get back.
I know. I'm getting back on it.
We'll get back.
I feel already good, but it's just a slippery slope, and it is what it is. All right, so those are our win total Wednesdays. We have some other ones. Brandon Walker had under 8.5 on Indiana.
I mean, they definitely lost a lot of talent. I mean, I think it's definitely like I've said it a bunch on the show, and just every time I've talked about him, I love Tom Allen. I think he's just an awesome coach. I love everything he stands for. I love what he's about. They got exposed a little bit in that bowl game. I do believe that. Even though bowl games get a little hairy, I know things kind of people sit out, people debate kind of your motivation. I get all that. They caught lightning in a bottle a little bit, and I do agree with this sentiment that the best thing they probably did all year was come back and lose a close game to Ohio State. So I don't hate that play as much as I love Tom Allen.
Yeah, the thing was, I was shocked in that. And look, I know bowl games, like you said, whatever, but I mean, you're talking about an Ole Miss defense.
They got their ass kicked, man.
Dude, Ole Miss defense was out in the 40s every game.
They
barely got to 20. They couldn't block Sam Williams. Their left tackle got destroyed. It just their lack of speed and athleticism was a little jarring on offense.
It was
the thing I thought.
No, I agree with you, because I remember even just some of their best weapons, they were having trouble getting off. I mean, they were definitely, like you said, I mean, everyone was scoring on Ole Miss, and they damn sure could not score on them, and that seems like a problem.
Yeah, I thought.
I agree with you. The speed and athleticism difference was very clear if you watch the game.
Another thing with Indiana too, it's kind of I mentioned this point with Coastal, but I think it's more for Indiana. It's one thing to be the surprise team and win, but now that people are actually going to show you respect, can you establish success? And you see so many teams will have a good year or two, but the sustaining it is tough. And especially they don't necessarily. I mean, I think Allen's recruiting pretty good, but it's not like they're pulling top 10 classes.
No, it's tough. I mean, Indiana's a tough spot because for them, obviously, Indiana's not exactly a football hotbed. And I mean, you're sitting there, you're recruiting in the South, Northeast, and places west. Obviously it's tough. You're going against Ohio State, Michigan, Wisconsin.
They do have Penix back this year, though. Quarterback. Remember, the offense fell off a lot.
So is he going to be back for week one?
They're saying, the chat's saying he's back. He had the shoulder thing, but
because I know they had Tuttle as well, who I know was a pretty high recruit actually.
But he didn't.
If I remember correctly, I actually think Tuttle was Chris Olave's quarterback in high school, I believe.
Okay.
In San Diego.
Oh wow.
So obviously he pulled a pretty good recruit from San Diego. I think he was at least a 4-star guy that he got to come to Indiana. So he didn't look awesome the end of the year. I mean, he didn't look just god awful, but I guess we'll see how that goes. I mean, Big Ten this year is going to be interesting. I think, especially with Penn State. I think you had some teams last year that underachieved. That interesting to see how they bounce back this year.
Yeah. Well, I'm just excited. Just even like I said, I'm starting to salivate at the thought of it, because usually when August 1 hits, it's like football to me. When the preseason gets going, college teams are there. And then Labor Day kicks off college football, and we got a 17-game NFL season, so we got a whole bunch to be excited about. So did anybody else turn in win totals today? I think it was just me, you, and Walker.
I think, I didn't see any.
Okay, so today, reminder, so Indiana under 8.5 for Walker. Ev has Coastal Carolina over 10. I have Louisiana Tech over 4. My other ones, I have over 8.5. LSU was one of my other ones. Brett Walker and I are arguing like crazy on the LSU stuff because he's down on them, and I think he's way, 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 way wrong on it. The other one's Brandon Walker. I took under 11.5 Alabama the second week, but I will give Brandon credit. He was the one who got there first. I like it a lot, though. I mean, God bless. They lose one game.
No, it makes a ton of sense. It definitely
they
makes
lost.
sense.
I mean, I know that they recruit the best and they're the best. I get all that, but literally they lost everything from that offense last year. And they have 6 games that look pretty tough. Brandon has over 10.5 on Georgia. That's interesting because they have at Clemson week 1.
Yep.
So, yeah, there's a lot of hypotheticals where they drop the Clemson game and could win 11 in a row. But, damn, if you're holding an over 10.5 ticket and they're 0-1, that's a pretty razor-thin margin for error the rest of the year, no?
No, anything 10 or above is your margin's tiny.
Yeah, but
especially
if they lose game 1. Rico had over 11 on Ohio State. Ev, I know you were big on Nevada over 7.
Yep, love it.
7.5.
I think they're going to win that conference. I really feel like they bring so much back. They're talking about Carson Strong being a legit potential first-round pick next year. He is an awesome quarterback. They have an awesome team. Romeo Dubes, they have a ton of guys. I'm telling you, that Nevada team, watch out for them this year. Watch out for the Wolfpack.
Brandon also is under 9 Penn State, under 7 Auburn. The Auburn one's fascinating. There's just so much transition going on in the Harsin year. And then them going with Bo Nix and letting Malik Willis transfer to Liberty is like haunting their program.
Oof.
Boy, they messed that one up.
What a coincidence. Your boy's on Liberty over 9.
I like Mush's under 6.5 BYU. They played a cream puff war schedule and lost Zach Wilson. I could see that. Rico's on over 6.5 on Tulsa. You're on over 9. Liberty they could be the number 1 G5 team.
It's with Hugh Freeze, man.
And Malik Willis back.
Dude,
yeah.
no, Malik Willis is awesome. I just seen that. I just seen kind of their schedule too, and I was like, this is a team that could easily have a similar season they had last year. I mean, they beat 3 ACC teams last year. They're a legit team, man.
No, they are.
They're a legit. And with Hugh Freeze, and even like I said, them going to Ole Miss. I'm not saying they're going to beat Ole Miss.
I'm worried.
They are going to catch everything that they can handle. They're going to throw the kitchen sink at Ole Miss. If you think Hugh Freeze doesn't want to win that game, you are out of your fucking mind.
I actually talked to one of my plug. I'm really close to the head of marketing for the Ole Miss athletic department. He's a younger guy. He's a big stoolie, and that's been awesome because that's how I have access to all the Ole Miss coaches and stuff. And he was talking about it. We were talking about it on the phone the other day because we were just kind of catching up on stuff for football. And I was like, why the hell did we schedule Liberty? He goes, man, we scheduled this like 7-8 years ago. And when Freeze took the Liberty job, Ole Miss was trying to get out of it.
I believe it.
And they couldn't get out of it. And
they know that's a big TV. That's just a great story.
Well, here's what worries me especially about it, though. You know it's Liberty Super Bowl. Ole Miss has right before it, it's at Tennessee, LSU, at Auburn, the 3 weeks in front of it. So, I don't know. I know I sound like a bitch running from stuff. But
that's the game. I don't know. It's
November 6th at Oxford.
I don't know what the line's going to be.
The over-under is going to be like 70.
Give me the over and give me Liberty with the points.
Oh, man. Yeah. That one's going to be tough. All right, we got to get one more read in here on IP Vanish. Today's episode of Pick Central is brought to you by IP Vanish. IP Vanish is a virtual private network, a VPN for short. A VPN is a super important tool that helps you safely browse the internet. You can use a VPN on your computers, tablets, phones, even things like your Fire Stick when you're streaming media. When you use a VPN, all your data is encrypted. What you're reading, searching, what you're watching is all protected. If you care about the security of your online activity, the easiest way to protect yourself is with IP Vanish VPN. Rated 4.7 out of 5 stars on Trustpilot, IP Vanish provides an encrypted connection for all of your internet traffic, helping to prevent websites, Wi-Fi providers, and even hackers from intercepting your data. You can help keep your financial details, personal info, and online activity safe from threats with IP Vanish. Get started with this limited time offer and save a whopping 65% off monthly and annual subscriptions by going to ipvanish.com/central. One more time, that's ipvanish.com/central. All lowercase, save 65%. Pretty damn good deal. I'm familiar with VPNs from the online poker world. A lot of people actually like would be in the U.S. when online poker got outlawed in the U.S. and they would use VPNs to say they were in other countries to illegally play in the U.S. That was like a huge thing.
I believe it.
But of course,
for sure.
Of course, we're not about illegal activity. Somebody's trolling me saying Arch Manning's going to Texas. He's got his visit with Ole Miss coming up July 28th. Look, his name's Arch Manning. Until I see him commit to another school, I refuse to believe it. You don't name him Arch and expect me. Come on. And yes, I'm a homer, and my head's in the cloud. It also is funny, the Arch Manning thing, though, because how much it means to business up here. If we get a Manning playing quarterback for Kiffin the next few years, I mean, that's so big for Ole Miss nationally and Barstool and stuff.
Honestly, it's so funny. It kind of just all hit me now. Obviously, I knew this, but it was kind of this crazy moment where you started saying that, and the guy trolling said he was going to Texas, being like, wow, like, it really is such a big deal where he's going to go. And the funny thing is, when he announces, it's probably just going to, he's just going to, like, sign the line, not say anything, and then.
Yeah, he's not on social media.
It's just going to be, like, posted on, all of a sudden, it's just going to be, like, on Twitter, like a big news break, like, Arch Manning's going to blah, blah, blah. And it's going to be the biggest thing in the world. Like, it's so crazy the way that, like you just said, he's going to go to one of these probably SEC schools, and it's just going to, the economy's just going to go, woo.
Yeah, the Oxford thing.
With him just showing up. Just him just show it is crazy the impact not only just the Manning name has, but when you just have a young phenom like that. Like, I don't know, have we ever seen – I mean, obviously he's not either one of their actual kids. He's Cooper's kid.
Yeah.
But it's still just
But he can move, though. He moves a lot better than Peyton and Eli could. He's got more some like he looks a little more mobile.
It's just crazy to think the impact that we're talking about this kid having this impact on literally a big city's economy. He's like 15, 16 years old.
Yeah, Cooper.
And it's the truth. It's like it's the God's honest truth.
Yeah, Cooper owns a bunch of property in the Coop in Oxford too, so I'm like hoping business interests kick in too. I know, even though Manning's money probably not going to be a problem. I am going to try to get down there and check out one of his games in New Orleans this fall. If I do like a big content weekend for New Orleans with Saints and all that stuff at LSU, it'd be fun going like Barstool going to a high school football game. The only way that's ever going to happen is if your last name is Manning. All right, we got to get to some picks for today. I got 2 picks I want to add on the British Open too that starts tomorrow. Golf's fourth major of the year. Kind of crept up on us a little bit. It's a little hard to follow because of the early start times. John Rahm is a huge favorite here. Have you seen he's plus 750?
He was one that if I was going to take someone, he probably would have been it just to ride the hot hand. I mean, the guy's been hot. I mean, he was about to win that tournament. Then when he got booted off for the COVID thing, then he comes back and wins the major. Now he's playing in another one. I mean, the guy's hot right now. Ride the hot hand.
I'm going to go with a couple of picks. I'm taking Patrick Cantlay at 28-1. I just think that's good value. He's really steady, and he's I could see him winning one. I know he's from the U.S., though. I always kind of like taking the guys from Europe with a different link style golf. I might be being a sucker here, but I'm taking Justin Rose at 50-1. We saw him make a run in the Masters earlier. I know he didn't win it, but I think 50-1 is a good price on him. So those are the 2 I've got right now. Cantlay 28-1, Rose 50-1. I'm also going to take Schauffele, as I always do, to top 5. I need to look up the odds on it. It's like right in front of me, but I don't have time to scroll to it. But whatever Schauffele is the top 5, I want that too. I feel like he's 16-1 to win, and he never wins, but he's always in the mix. And so I like taking him to top 5. He's just so steady and in it. And then I'm taking the Phoenix Suns plus 4.5 or 5, whatever it is tonight. Those are my picks for today.
Yeah, I'll ride with. I already said I'm going to go with the Bucks minus 4. I'll give a couple of golf picks. I get 2. I'll take Rahm plus 750. And then just one more, not to go too crazy. I'll take Victor Hovland plus 2,200. And that'll be my open pick.
Victor Hovland, 22.
I'm not going to sit here and blow smoke like I have all this knowledge. I know he's a good player, foreign guy. Let's go with Victor Hovland. He stood out to me when I looked at the board.
Yeah, I'm going to Well, I'm doing Cantlay and Rose and then Schauffele, 2 top 5. Going to be following the Open Championship. NBA Finals tonight. Certainly going to be watching that as well. And then MLB starts back tomorrow. I'm going to start cranking out. Next week feels like the beginning of the super in-depth football research. I'm going to try to go old school this fall because I'm in a spot. I mean, everybody's following this Barstool. I'm in the perfect spot to show people this fall that actually know something about football and gambling after what happened in Omaha because I damn sure don't know. College baseball's never even had lines before, really. And I don't mean to make it as an excuse, but I've just never handicapped it and obviously sucked at it. But at least it was entertaining is how I looked at it. But I got to prove to everyone that I actually know what I'm talking about this fall. So got to get to work on the research, especially with the G5, because it's really, the more you put into it, like knowing the match and stuff Tuesday night, knowing about these teams. So we're going to start the prep next week. We're going to be ready for the season.
No, it's huge. I genuinely believe that. Well, college football is just my favorite, but I also genuinely believe that college football is one of the easiest ones. Gambling's all hard. It's all hard to beat it. I think college football is a beatable game. I think it's a winnable game if you play it the right way. And like you said, if you do your research, there's a lot of money in the crumbs, as my guy Rico Bosco likes to say. Know those G5 teams. Know those lower-end teams. My dad always taught me as a young gambling protege, especially with the college lines, there's usually a couple mistake lines. It's your job to find them.
Yeah. Well, I think it's all knowing the G5 stuff, too. It's literally, I mean, I can look back at my lifetime of betting on football. The more I prepare, I mean, luck is where preparation meets opportunity, right? Isn't that the saying?
Bingo.
And to me, the season is won in college football in late July and August when it comes up and you start talking about the Sun Belt and the MAC and USA teams, and you know the quarterbacks and you know the schemes and you know the critical. You know, when you actually put in the effort on it, it miraculously becomes a lot easier. And whatever, I sound like I'm making excuses, but last year I didn't put in the effort. I moved in the middle of the year, and it was a whirlwind, and I got the shit kicked out of me. So we're going to do better this year. All right, want to thank our crew, Zah and TJ. Always do an awesome job. Really appreciate you guys. Smitty's going to be in here with us tomorrow. Brandon Walker will be back on Monday. Certainly miss our esteemed host. Rico and Mush will be back Monday. We'll be back in here tomorrow recapping NBA Finals Game 4. We'll talk more football, Open Championship, you name it. Thank y'all for joining us on Pick Central today, and stay tuned for the action.